I lost the book. Where's the book? Where's that horrible... There it is. Christmas might be over, but I've still got a bone to pick with something about the holidays. Welcome back to my channel. I am Kate, for those of you who don't know me, and I like to talk about books, as well as a couple other things related to books. Today, I am talking about something that takes a spin on the traditional Advent calendar around Christmas, and that is an Advent book. I lost the book. Where's the book? Where's that horrible... There it is. This is a book split into 24 parts, with each part sealed, not to be opened except for one a day leading up to Christmas, starting on December 1st. I sacrificed my sanity and preference to read a decent book to read this. Transition to... Let's just get into it. I'm not sure I've ever read a book this poorly structured ever. And I'm trying to be kind, so I'm not going to throw stuff out about the author, and I'm just going to talk about the book specifically and why I didn't like it. Before we get started on this, I want to ask you to please hit that like button down there. Hit it. Hit that like button right there. Click it. Thank you. And now we will get back to the video. Now, this is called A Heart for Christmas. It is broken up into 24 parts, with each part looking a little something like this. As you can see, I didn't finish reading it because this is what the sealed chapters look like. But you break them open with a letter opener or a pencil, and you read one a day, every day leading up to Christmas. This book hardly gets 3 stars on Goodreads, and now I know why. Initially, I caught some reviews, but they were all in French, and I think that's because the author is French and that this book was translated from French to English about this year or something. So I couldn't read them, but they didn't look so good. When I considered this, I thought that perhaps the translation wasn't very good, but because the reviews were in French, I also thought that maybe it's just not a great book in general, but I wanted to give it a try anyways. But looking at the French reviews, it seems it was not, in fact, a great book in a lot of people's opinions. A Heart for Christmas is a really promising story premise-wise. It's kind of cute. It's a YA sort of romance, except the characters aren't teenagers, which a lot of YA characters tend to be somewhere between 15 and 18, I think, maybe even pushing 19. I've already talked a lot about the physical aspects of the book and ripping open chapters, so I just want to kind of continue on that here real quick, as well as some of the other physical aspects of the book. But if you want to skip ahead, feel free. I have never seen an Advent calendar in like book form like this, and since I love reading, I loved it. So I snatched it up back in like October, and I was super excited to get started on this book. Now, the way they seal the chapters sounds great, and it's like, oh, this is great, and then you can't spoil the book for yourself. But in reality, this is an absolutely poor design flaw. I have torn pages from trying to open these, and as someone who loves books, this breaks my heart. I was trying to find a good example of this, but I really don't want to flip through the whole book, so I'll just show you this little one, like right there. But I also have like a really big chunk torn out of one of the pages. I just can't find it right now. My pages are ripped, and I'm mad about it. So, poor design flaw. Not even fun to open, and I had a real letter opener to open these pages. So basically the story follows this girl April falling for her best friend's brother during Christmas time, and April had a heart transplant. That's like the gist. Summary is April is like a 19-year-old girl who had a heart transplant a couple years ago, who's been living kind of in fear ever since. Fear about getting sick, fear about eating wrong, fear about leaving the house, and it doesn't help that her mom is a helicopter mom, fueling this fear. Her dad, that divorced her mom, is basically trying to encourage April to go back to living life kind of the way she was and taking risks and just being comfortable and not living in fear all the time. April constantly says that her dad acts like he forgot she got a heart transplant, but really he's just trying to say, dude, the doctors told you could do this. Why are you pretending like you can't? He's just trying to remind her that While her body is somewhat fragile, she's not made of glass and she just needs to get out there and try some things again. But to listen to her body when it tells her no. Now, April is visiting her dad for Christmas, who is a ski instructor at some ski resort place. Her mom is staying like with a friend and then going back home. Her mom's just not really in the story much. And she's awaiting the arrival of her best friend, Ava, whose family also lives near there, but Ava is away at school finishing up something before she comes back. And while she awaits Ava's arrival, she starts doing stuff with Ava's brother. I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but I'm going to call him Augustine. Augustine sounds right to me, honestly. She starts hanging out with him. He's a ski instructor as well, and he takes April on these adventures about like getting out of her skin and trying skiing again, because she used to ski when she was younger. All while develop feelings for Augustine. Oh, at some point, she runs into Jimmy, who's a guy she's known for a bit, who Ava had a thing for, and then she meets friend of Jimmy, who's named Jeff, and Jeff ends up at her house hitting on her the next day. She's never met Jeff before. She spoke like 3 words to him the night before, and then Jeff starts acting like they're a couple, and she has to be like, I don't know you, leave me alone eventually, and it's really random and weird. It's really just a poorly incorporated plot device for the setup between Augustine and April, and I feel like it had no point whatsoever. He did not need to exist. So yes, I did DNF this book after 15 days because I just couldn't take it anymore. Part of me wants to finish it, part of me doesn't care. If I ever do, I'll let you guys know. I might try it again next year and just finish the other half of it in December. Or I guess that would be later this year because it's January, but meh. To run through the characters really quick, there's April, who's like 18, almost 19, who had the heart transplant. She's the main character. Ava, April's best friend. Augustine, April's love interest and Ava's older brother. April's dad and mom, who I can't remember their names for. The mutual friend Jimmy, who is Augustine's best friend, I believe, as well as Ava's sort of love interest. And then Jeff, the random friend of Jimmy's who decided that he and April were dating after exchanging like 4 words one night. Moving on to the book, this is where I have problems with the book. I don't know what the plot is. The only thing going on is that Augustine and April are like having feelings for each other. And that's like it. And that he's just kind of helping her come out of her shell regarding the heart transplant. But like the subplot and everything else going on just is really random and feels like it's just for the plot. But like, what plot? I can't even tell you what the main plot of this is because everything feels like subplot, but it also has no subplot. It's just kind of like a 7-year-old telling a story almost. Like it makes a lot of not sense. I don't think there's any foreshadowing going on in this book, which is kind of aggravating. April is literally just like always studying or complaining about needing to study. And what plot is there other than this alleged romantic setup? As for April's family life, we just have her mom and her dad who don't get along. Her mom who thinks April's made of glass and needs to be wrapped in paper towels and left in a box forever. And April's dad who's like, April, it's okay if you have a bite of cheese. It's not gonna kill you. And April going, you forgot that I had a heart transplant. The pacing of the book feels really off to me as well. And I don't necessarily mean that things are like too fast or too slow. It's just kind of choppy and weird. Like every scene is a maximum of maybe a 1.5 pages long and consists of very scripted feeling things. Like if you were in high school biology and you had to film a pretend little video for like, oh, pretend that you are on an episode of Grey's Anatomy and tell us about this condition. It's a bunch of kids who don't know how to act kind of thing. The dialogue feels like a lot of he said, she said, and no like actions mixed in and pauses and anything. It's just very quick one-line weird things like love you bro, thanks sis, cool dad, like little phrases like that. That's kind of what the dialogue feels like. If you guys have ever seen ads for like those weird vertical shows that are like kind of TikTok platform that's like he's the alpha and she's the maid and now they're engaged, and you've ever like watched them and the acting is really poor and bad, yeah, that's what this book kind of reads like. The story also moves a little fast with the fact that we don't really have foreshadowing or build up for a lot of stuff going on. And by that, it's like you might only read one chapter at a time, but you'll switch settings like 4 or 5 times in that chapter, and it's only a couple pages long. It's very exhausting. Some of the characters also just don't make any sense to me, as I feel they're just not there for anything other than needing another character to be there. It feels like the author had no purpose for them to be there whatsoever and no plans for them at all. For example, April's dad is quite literally always just, "Hey April, I'm going out on a hike." Next day, "Hey April, I'm going out on a hike." "Hey April, I'm going out on a hike." Do you see how repetitive that is? Like, he serves no purpose. And then her mom is always just like a little text conversation. The same as Ava is mostly just a text conversation until she shows up. And then Ava's only purpose seems like to bash on Augustin and complain about him and treat him like he's trash and say that, yeah, he's trash. Like, that's it. Augustin and April are basically the only characters that we have any backstory for. And even then, you don't know that much other than the fact that, yeah, April had a heart transplant. I had a heart transplant. And then Augustin, you understand something from Ava explains something about like his past and why she hates him, I guess, which is that he had a relationship with a girl that ended really badly. But you literally don't know anything about these characters and what drives them and what's fueling them at all. Once I got to day 15, I had basically given up on the story altogether. I love the idea of like the best friend's brother holiday romance, but it just feels really unpolished. It has details that don't matter, and it doesn't have enough details that do matter and that do influence the story. I kind of see this story as being written like there are 24 parts and then trying to write something for each part. But I feel like that's how I think it reads. So personally, I would rather write a whole story and then find good parts to break it for the 24 parts. Because it just feels like nothing runs smoothly together. It's very this thing, instead of just like this story that slowly progresses. Basically, the way it was written, I didn't like the plot, I didn't like the characters, and it just felt like a chore to read it. And there are so many other books I could read, and I'm not going to waste my time reading something I'm not enjoying. I don't believe there's any sort of intimate scenes, maybe other than a kiss, because it is marketed as a YA romance. But then again, I only finished half the book, so I wouldn't really know. But there's not really even any tension, pining, or buildup as far as I got halfway through. So I guess maybe there's just not even any romance in there at all. The characters really just feel like they have no connection to one another emotionally. So to recap this is that I really loved the idea of this book and it felt really fun. I just feel like it was poorly executed in terms of the physical book as well as the content of the book itself. As for the author, I really don't want to discredit her because I did look at her Goodreads and it seems like she doesn't typically write in this YA romance genre, and that her other works tend to get better reviews than this one. So I don't want to call her a bad author. I just feel like it might have been an author writing in a genre she's not familiar with. Like, think of a horror author trying to write historical romance. It's not going to go well. There was another sort of Advent romance book that came out from her that also got poor reviews. So I really do feel like that just might be the case here with her writing outside of her typical genre. In the end, I think I'm just going to leave this as a DNF because I don't want to read something I don't like. Like I said, maybe I'll finish it later this year or another year, but for now it's just going to sit unfinished. And this is how I feel about it. If you like to read a cozy holiday romance, I think this could be it because it's really simple and easy to follow. I just like a little more depth with my stories and I wasn't enjoying it. But this is a good like curl up by the fire, read it at night with a cup of cocoa kind of story. So I hope somebody else likes this book way more than I do and you could give it a chance next year. Thank you so much for watching my video. I didn't like this book, but I liked making the video. Once again, please do like and subscribe. You can follow my Instagram where I'm more active if you want to see more from me, or my Goodreads to just keep up with what I'm reading and maybe find out if I finish this book ever. If you have any recommendations or suggestions, you can leave them down below in the comments and I will try to take note of it as best as I can. Again, thank you for watching and I will catch you guys again another time. Bye!
T'as pas sûr?